Hey everyone, welcome to part 57 of my Pokemon game series in Unity. So until now, we have only implemented items that can heal the HP. So in this video, we'll implement all the other types of items. So we'll implement items that can heal status conditions, revive Pokemons, and restore PP of the moves. Special thanks to all my Patreons for making this series possible. By becoming a Patreon, you can support me and get access to the complete project files of the series. The project files also contain some advanced features that are not covered on YouTube. So let's start the video. So right now, inside the recovery item, we have only done the implementation for HP amount, right? So with this, we can only create items like potions and super potion. So now let's do the implementation for all the other items. So first, let's use the restore max HP bool to implement the max potion. So that's going to be pretty easy. In here, if restore max HP is true, then we can use the increase HP function. But the only difference is, in this case, we want to increase the HP by max HP. So for the HP amount, I'll pass Pokemon dot max HP. Okay, and otherwise, I'll just increase it by the HP amount. So in the main if, I'll also check for the restore max HP. Alright, so that's all we have to do. So if this is true, then we'll increase the HP by max HP, and otherwise we'll just increase it by the HP amount. So next, let me implement items like revive and max revive. So these are the only items that can be used on a fainted Pokemon. So I'll write this at the top and I'll check if revive or max revive is true. In that case, first we need to verify that the Pokemon is fainted. This can't be used on Pokemon that are not fainted, right? So first let's check if Pokemon is fainted. So I'll say Pokemon.HP is greater than 0. So if the HP is greater than 0, then that means the Pokemon is not fainted, and we can just return false. Otherwise, if we are trying to use it on a fainted Pokemon, then we can simply increase its HP to revive it. So if it's revive, then I'll increase its HP by max HP by 2. Okay, so if it's revive, then we'll revive the Pokemon and restore the HP by 50%, right? Otherwise, if it's max revive, then we'll restore the HP fully. And by the way, when we revive the Pokemon, we should also cure any status condition that the Pokemon had before it fainted, right? So here I'll say Pokemon dot cure status. So this will cure the status of the Pokemon. All right. And finally, if revive or max revive is used, then I don't want to execute the rest of the code. So I'll just return true from here. All right. So this code will handle revive and max revive. So let me just add comments on top of each code block. So these two are the only items that can be used on a fainted Pokemon, right? No other items can be used. So before trying to use any of the other items, I'll check if the Pokemon is fainted. So I'll check if Pokemon.HP is equal to 0. And if that's the case, I'll just return false since we don't want to allow any of the other items to be used on a fainted Pokemon. Okay, so let me also add a comment on top of it for clarity. So next, let's implement items that can cure status conditions. So we can use these two variables for that. So here, I'll check if recover all status is true or the status enum is not equal to none. Okay, so if any of this is true, then we should try to recover the status condition. So first, let me check if the Pokemon actually has a status condition. So if they don't have, then we can just return false, right? So I'll check if Pokemon dot status equal to null and Pokemon dot volatile status equal to null. Then I'll just return false. Okay. Otherwise, if the Pokemon actually has a status condition, then I'll check which one of these we should use. Alright, so if it's recover all status, then we can simply call Pokemon dot cure status and Pokemon dot cure volatile status. Otherwise, if this item can only cure a specific status, then first we should check if the Pokemon's current status is equal to the status that we are trying to cure. Okay. Oops, I wrote cure status for some reason. I have to check the status, right? So yeah, if we try to compare it like this, then we'll get an error. So this is because the status that we are getting in the serialized field is actually the ID of the status condition, right? So we have to compare it with the ID of the status. So here I'll say Pokemon.status.id equal to status. So now the error is gone. So if Pokemon has the status that we are trying to cure, then we can go ahead and call Pokemon.cureStatus to cure it. Otherwise, if it doesn't have, then we can also check for the volatile status. Okay, we can check for it like this. And if that's true, then we can call Pokemon.cureVolatileStatus. All right. And finally, if both these conditions are not true, that means Pokemon doesn't have a status which we are trying to cure. So we can simply return false. All right, so this will recover the status for us. And we can also use it to recover volatile statuses like confusion. So next, let's implement the items that can restore the PP. So for this, we can use these two variables. So in Pokemon games, we have items that can restore the PP of a single move. So for such items, after we select the Pokemon, we'll also have to select a move of the Pokemon, right? So implementing that is going to be a bit more complex because after selecting the Pokemon, we also have to select the move. So I'm going to skip that part for now. And instead, what I'll do is I'll restore the PP of all the moves of the Pokemon when such an item is used. So down here, first let's check if restore max PP is true. If so, we can completely restore the PP of the move. So we don't have a function for that right now. So I'll go to my move class and I'll create a function called increase pp. Okay, so this function is going to take the amount by which we want to increase, and inside it I'll just say pp equal to pp plus amount, and we'll just clamp it so that it can't go above the max pp. So how can we get the max pp? We can get it from the base, right? The pp that we have in the base, in the move base, is actually the max pp. So here I'll clamp it between 0 and base.pp, which is the max pp. All right. And why do we have an error here? Okay, the pp is actually just a property. So let me use capital case here. So now let's call this function when the item is used. So here I'm going to restore the pp of all the moves. So I'll say pokemon.moves, and for each move I'm going to call the increase pp function. Okay, and in case of restore max pp, we can simply pass the max pp. So I'll pass m dot base dot pp. Okay, otherwise if pp amount is greater than 0, then I'll just call the same function, but in this case I'll pass the pp amount instead of the max pp. Alright, so this will restore the pp for us. So yeah, we are done with the implementation of all the types of items. So let's go to Unity and test this. Okay, let me start a battle. Alright, so first let's test items that can restore the pp of the move. Okay, so right now all my moves have full pp. So let me do few attacks and reduce it. Okay, so now if you look at the moves, the scratch and growl is reduced by 1. So let's try to restore it by using another. Okay, so I'm going to use it on my Charmander. Alright, so now if we check our moves, you can see that both their PPs have been restored. So next let's test items that can revive the Pokemon. So I'm going to switch the Pokemon and select a Pokemon with a low level. Okay, so let me make him faint. Alright, so my Pokemon fainted and I have to choose another Pokemon. But now we should be able to use revive to revive that Pokemon, right? If you go to the party screen and try to use it, you won't be able to because it's fainted. But if we go ahead and use revive, okay, we only have max revive here. So let's try that. So if we try revive on other Pokemon, we won't be able to do it. But if we try it on a fainted Pokemon, okay, we have an error. Let me see what it is. So I think this happens when we use an item with just one count. So that's some weird issue. So we'll actually come back to this issue later, but first let me try to increase the number of max revive that we have, and let's test if the revive is working. Okay, and once we test, we can look at the issue. So I'll set my max revive to 2, and let me go ahead and test it. Alright, so I'll start a battle, and I have to make a Pokemon faint in order to test this. So let me do that real quick. Alright, so now my Pidgey is fainted. So let me go ahead and use the max revive to revive it. Okay, so now you can see it was used successfully and the Pidgey was revived. So if we look at the party screen, you can see its HP is recovered fully, and we can also try switching to it again. So yeah, that's working properly. So next, let's test items that can cure status conditions. So for testing that, I'll give the Bulbasaur a move like Poison Powder. So I'll simply replace the tackle with Poison Powder just for testing. Okay, and let's test the game and try to get poisoned. Alright, so Bulbasaur used Poison Powder, and you can see that my Charmander is poisoned. So if I go to bag and use an antidote, you can see that it's no longer poisoned. Oh, but it became poisoned again because of another poison powder attack. But yeah, you can see it actually worked. The antidote was able to cure Charmander's poison status. So those types of items are also working. So let me go ahead and switch my poison powder with tackle. So all types of items are working now. So next, let's try to recreate the issue that we found earlier. So after some testing, I was able to recreate the issue. So this is a weird edge case. So let me show you how to recreate it, and then we'll look at how to fix it. All right. So this issue happens when we use the last item in our inventory, and the last item should have just one count. Okay, so if this was 2, then you won't be able to recreate the issue. So if I use my last item like this, then you can see the error over here. So let's go ahead and read the error. So it says argument out of range exception. So this error usually happens when we use an index that is greater than the number of items in the list. Okay, so if you click on the error, you'll see the line that's causing the exception. So we can double click on this to go to that line. So this is the line that's causing the error. And here we are trying to access an item from the slots list using selected item as the index. So now let me explain why this issue is happening. So let's say we have 12 items in our inventory, and if you want to use the 12th item, then the value of selected item will be 11, right? The last item will be in the 11th index. But once we use the item, it will be removed from the inventory. So now the inventory will only have 11 items, and the last item will be at index 10. But our selected item will still be at index 11. So when we try to use that index on the slots list, we'll get an index out of range exception. So that's what causing the issue. It's a edge case that is hard to recreate, but the fix for this is really easy. All we have to do is just clamp the selected item from the update item selection. So in case if an item was removed, we won't get the index out of range exception. So I'll just clamp the selected item from here. So we can just clamp it between 0 and the current length of the slot list. So the min will be 0 and max will be inventory dot slots dot count minus 1. Okay, so it's an easy fix, but issues like this are really hard to diagnose and recreate. So now let's go ahead and test this. Okay, so now if I use the last item in the inventory, you can see that we don't have that exception anymore. So that edge case is fixed. So I'll stop the video here. If you think this video is helpful, please leave a like and consider subscribing to my channel. That'll really help me out. So I'll see you in the next video.